Well, it looks like Ford just screwed over 115,000 truck owners, and I feel like it's going to take a miracle for Ford to dig themselves out of this deep hole that they're in. In one of my last videos I did about Ford, I talked about how so far over this past year, they've recalled over 1 million vehicles worth of recalls. This is spread out through several different vehicles. Well, it seems like things apparently are just getting worse for Ford this year, and it's pretty much a joke at this point. They've just put out another recall involving over 155,500 Super Duty pickup trucks. And this one is so bad that if you don't get it fixed, it could literally kill you or seriously injure you in an accident or anyone else around you. Let me show you what that is. So as you can see here, Ford is recalling over 115,500 US vehicles due to a steering column defect. Ford is recalling 115,539 vehicles in the United States due to a defect that could cause the steering column's upper shaft to detach. And this issue is really bad because it could lead to a complete loss of steering control. As an example, you could be driving your truck down the road and you're just steering along 80 miles an hour in the fast lane, just cruising. All of a sudden, you try to change lanes or get out of someone's way who's going faster than you, because if you're in the left lane and someone's going faster, you need to move over. And then your truck just stops steering. You can't move left, you can't move right, you can't do anything. If it snaps in the middle of you changing lanes, a lot of people don't know what to do. They're gonna panic, they're gonna probably slam on their brakes or do God knows what that might cause an accident. And then also, you have to stop in the middle of a travel lane. Let's say you're on the highway and your steering doesn't work anymore. You have to just stop in the middle of the road, and that is very, very dangerous. Whether you crash because you can't steer or it causes another accident because someone rear-ends you because you're stopped in the middle of the highway, that's just not a good thing. And so this is affecting pretty much just Super Duty pickup trucks. So if you have a Super Duty, you're gonna need to pay attention. Now, the good thing is it's not affecting these brand new ones that you see on the lot behind me. These are totally fine. If you've got like a newer one, 2022 and up, you're pretty much going to be okay. Just double check with your dealer. But if you have one of these models I'm about to tell you about, you need to pay attention and take it straight to the dealer right away because this defect is really dangerous. This issue, which can potentially lead to a loss of steering control, affects vehicles from models year 2020 through 2021 and includes the F250, F350, and F450 vehicles. So if you have any of those year models 2021 Super Duties, I would go ahead and take it into your dealer, get this taken care of right away so you don't get stranded on the highway without any steering. Now, you might think that I hate Ford because I've made so many vehicles that are like kind of bashing Ford or talking about problems or either high prices or recalls or just dumb things that they're doing. But I don't hate Ford. That might be a surprise to you. I don't hate Ford. I actually like Ford. I think they're a really good brand. I like some of the vehicles that they make. I love how the Bronco looks, and there's good and bad things about it. I like the new Mustang, but there's good and bad things about it. And I like the F-150, but there's good and bad things about it. Recalls definitely don't help as far as the bad things, and the prices going up definitely don't help either. But some of the things they're doing have just made me mad, and because I am a Ford fan, I'm a little bit more passionate about calling them out when they're doing something really stupid. It just upsets me a little bit more, and that's why I make these videos calling out Ford when they're doing things wrong or there's issues. It's not that I hate it, it's actually because I like it and I want to see them succeed. And when they make a mistake and you're a fan of a certain product or brand, you really need to call them out. So hopefully they can see these videos and fix it. That's really my end goal. I don't know if I'm making any kind of difference at all with my videos. Hopefully Ford sees some of these things that I talk about, because I want to talk about a few things in this video that I love about certain vehicles and things that I think could have helped these vehicles sell better or would have made them better to begin with. And obviously recalls are one of them. And I know recalls are good in bad. Recalls are good in that they found a problem and they're fixing it. They're also bad because that means there's a lack of quality control when putting these things together or sourcing parts. And I want you to know I'm not just spitting this out of nowhere and I have no experience with owning Ford vehicles. I've actually owned two previous generation Ford F-150 Raptors, basically the same trucks but in different colors. I had one in Avalanche Gray and one in that darker gray color. I forgot the name of it, I can't remember it. And then I also owned a Mustang GT350R, which was dumb to sell. I should have never sold that car. I got it at MSRP and the prices of those have just skyrocketed. Just never sell your dream cars. If you buy a dream car, don't sell it. Just hang on to that thing because you never know what's going to happen later down the road. But anyways, I have experience in owning Ford vehicles. And so I'm not just like talking out of my butt on these things. I'm coming from a person who has experience with Ford vehicles. So with that being said, I want to show you a few of my favorite Ford vehicles. And I want to talk about what they're doing right with them, and then also what they did wrong and what I think would have made them even better. And recalls aside, I want to just talk about some small details with Ford that I think they should change, and I think their sales would do even better. Now I want to start in this little side corner by service of this dealership because there's three things here that I wanted to talk about and they're all in the same spot. Let me show you right now. First of all, the new Ford Raptor. I think this is the best looking Ford F-150 Raptor that they've ever put out. I like that it comes with 35s, KO2s, those are pretty badass. This orange color is really good. And I love the front end. This is one of the best looking Fords that they've made. The only issue, and which is the issue I had with my Raptors when I owned them, is I didn't really like the twin turbo V6 engine. Sure, it had a lot of power, but there was a little bit of turbo lag at the lower end that bothered me. And I didn't like the sound that came out of the tailpipe. So while this is a good looking truck, the engine just is not my favorite out of all of the Raptor engines that have come out. And here's an example of what I feel like is an almost perfect Raptor, and that's the Gen 1 Ford F-150 Raptor with the 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8 engine sitting right underneath this hood right here. It may not be as fast as the new F-150 Raptor, but the low end torque is pretty much instantaneous. There's no turbo lag on this thing. And the sound that comes out of these tailpipes that you see here is just music to my ears. I love the way the V8 sounds. And you can try to argue with me all day if you love your new V6 Raptor, but you gotta be honest, if you put those two side by side and you did some revs, V8 one, V6 one, if you tell yourself that the V6 one sounds better, you're just lying and you're just trying to justify the money that you wasted. Because you can get one of these in the 30s now. But anyways, Ford did fix that engine issue by putting out the new Raptor R with the V8. So that makes the new Raptor pretty much perfect. The only issue with that is that it's like $110,000, $120,000 with markup, 130. I've seen them at 150, and that's just an insane amount of money. With that said, I would say in about 4 or 5 years, the new Raptor with the V8 is probably going to be a really good price after the hype wears down and a lot of used ones start showing up on the lot. So give it about 5 years and let's see where the new Raptor R V8 prices are compared to one of these. I still think this is a great buy. The only problem is the interior is a bit outdated, but you can update the screen if you want. And really it's just the center dash that looks a bit old. But coming back here on the V8 train, that also leads me to the second vehicle that I think could have been better, and that is the Bronco Raptor. This is a pretty awesome looking Bronco. I like the wide hips. I love the 37s that it comes with. It just looks like you could crush any kind of Baja road. I even like the fender vents right here on the side. And I actually think they are functional because it looks like there's holes that go inside underneath the hood. So no fake vents out of the fenders, which is nice. The only issue again that I have is underneath the hood. And again, that's with the twin turbo V6 engine. I think they could have put a Coyote V8 in it, a little bit tuned up, maybe from the Mustang GT, and that would have made this Raptor pretty much perfect in my opinion. Not to mention it's over 100 grand as well. And for 100 grand on an off-roady vehicle, I think the Bronco Raptor definitely would have been funner with like a tuned up Mustang 5-liter V8 engine. So while we're talking about the 5-liter Mustang V8, I want to talk about the Mustang for a moment. There's some things I really love about the new Mustang, and then honestly, there's only one thing that I dislike about it. The rest of the car is pretty darn good as far as Mustangs go from each generation. And like I said, I did have a Mustang GT350R, so it's really hard to compare one of the pinnacle Mustangs against any other Mustang. So what I say comes from my experience with a GT350R being the only Mustang that I've ever owned. But as far as this one goes, when it first came out, I was kind of unsure of the design. I've always thought the front end of this was perfect. Like, the front end is great. It's a good update on the styling while keeping it simple. Side profile's good. I don't really know what people meant about looking kind of Camaro-ish, because the previous generation S550 had some wide hips as well. The one thing that I've always been questioned about is this little sharp angles here. I wish it was a little less sharp, but it's kind of grown on me. But the back end is pretty solid as well. And of course, you can never go wrong with a good 5-liter motor. And speaking of motor, they actually did dual intakes this time, which looks pretty cool under the hood. But of course, there's actually two things that are causing issues for this Mustang. One is that a lot of people think these are about $5,000 too high, and I seem to agree. I think Ford is fighting just charging a lot of stuff right now. Like the F-150s, you can get 10 grand off on some of the new trucks, like 25 models. And then the Mustangs also usually have a couple grand discounts as well. But the bigger issue for me on this car is that new digital dash. I'm just not a huge fan of the way it looks, and I'm not a huge fan of cars that have like complete digital dashes. And one of the big issues with that is, one, it just takes away from the car feeling special. If everything just has a big full screen slapped on top of the dash, it takes away the creativity, it takes away from the look, and it also is going to age very, very poorly. It's just not going to be something that 25 years down the road, people are going to be like, oh wow, this is a beautiful classic car. It just doesn't do it for me. On the opposite side, a GT350 or previous gen Mustangs, like classic Mustangs, you just sit in those cars, especially a GT350, and it feels special. Nothing feels special anymore about digital screens. Now, putting the trucks and the Mustang aside, there is one Ford vehicle that I honestly have almost nothing negative to say, and especially when it comes in this color. The newest Ford Expedition, especially this trimmer, I think Ford just did a really good job. This thing, pretty much in my opinion, looks perfect. And the trimmer is more of like an off-roady spec. So having really cool colors like this dark green just makes sense. If I needed a vehicle this big, I would probably look at getting one of these, especially in this green color. It's just really, really cool. Just look at this color in the sunlight. Now, I will say there's only one thing I don't like about it. I just talked to a salesman and he said a lot of people don't like this either, and they're wondering why Ford did it. And that's with the hatch, the top half being this black, shiny black color. I think it just makes it look cheap. I think Ford was thinking it might have looked fancy, but that just makes it look cheap. I think if they would have continued the green going all the way up to the window here, that would have been better. If I bought one of these, I would just take it to a paint shop and have them paint that green, because that just looks stupid. I'm not going to talk about price, maybe I am for a minute, but this 25 trimmer is 84 grand. If I was going to buy one, I would wait about 3 years until they're used and the depreciation hits, because there's no way I'd spend that much money. Now I want to talk about an SUV from Ford real quick that we need to just give a send-off to and a final farewell, because this one is going away. There's not going to be any of these ever again, and that's the Ford Escape. This is the last year you're going to see any of these Ford Escapes. Ford's done with them. The Escapes are DOA. They are gone. We're going to have a funeral for the little Escape, and I'm going to tell you why real quick Ford is getting rid of the Escape and why they're not going to sell it anymore. It's pretty simple, actually. First of all, it was never ugly. It's a good looking little vehicle. There's always something cheap and affordable. And you can get a 2025 with a 4-liter engine, unfortunately with a CVT, for $37,415. And this one is all-wheel drive. But the problem with the Ford Escape being almost $40,000 is this. The Ford Bronco Sport is the problem with the Escape. And that reason is the Ford Bronco Sport has been selling like crazy. And when someone's looking at a Bronco Sport side by side with an Escape, 9 times out of 10, they're choosing the Bronco Sport every single time. And here's one of the big reasons. First, this little box looks better than the Escape. It has a little bit more styling and it's less expensive. This is a 2025 Big Bend Bronco Sport 4-wheel drive, not just basic all-wheel drive, actual true real 4-wheel drive with the EcoBoost engine, and it actually has an 8-speed auto instead of Ford's eCVT, which get a way better transmission, and it's cheaper. This one is $34,910. And look how big that screen is. You get a bigger screen, a better looking vehicle, a more reliable transmission for less money. Actually, that one's $3,000 less than the Ford Escape. The Bronco just destroyed the Escape in sales. It doesn't make sense to keep the Escape, so bye-bye Escape. But anyways, that's gonna do it for today's video. This one's just short and sweet. I'm gonna start doing shorter videos because some of my videos are getting way too long. I thought 25 minutes was too long. My last video ended up being 30 minutes, and I think that's too long. I wanna start doing shorter videos under 15 minutes because honestly, I think sometimes it's just too much information, too long to watch. So we'll be on the lookout for more videos, but shorter videos. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. Hit subscribe to get our content. Like this video so more people can get this information, especially if you know someone with one of those Super Duties on recall. Send this video to them. I'm Matt with MotorFeed. I'll see you in the next video.